Hi everyone, my name is Yifan, and my research is on a comparative analysis of gain-of-function research and future perspectives. A little about me. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and my core mentor is Elliot. I believe everyone is very familiar with the COVID-19 pandemic happened not too long ago. The cause of this pandemic has been very mysterious, despite it was officially announced to be caused by animal spillover. And one major theory is that the pandemic was caused by viruses leaked from a gain-of-function lab. And since then, the continuation of gain-of-function research has received more critiques and become more controversial in public. Should scientists still continue gain-of-function research regardless of its potential risk of bringing severe pandemics? Here, I will present an analysis of gain-of-function research, including arguments and their overlaps and limitations. And due to the time limit, I will only present a few points. Gain-of-function research, or GOF research in short, refers to experiments that aim to help scientific communities to have a better understanding of pathogens, their relationships with hosts, and how they cause diseases by artificially adding a new function to the pathogen that will otherwise be unlikely to emerge naturally. And in a simpler term, creating unnaturally and usually more virulent pathogens for scientific studies. There are several arguments as a side arguing for the continuation of GF research uses. The first one is a better understanding of disease transmission and infection mechanisms, which helps develop countermeasures and preventions. One example is the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine. It works by inserting spike protein genes into adenovirus to generate immunity against coronavirus. And since the coronavirus spike protein gene was not in the adenovirus in the natural state, the act of artificially inserting the gene into adenovirus made the vaccine a typical example of using GIRAFFE approach to develop countermeasures against prevalent diseases. The vaccine was developed in the early stage of COVID-19 pandemic because there had been decades of GIRAFFE research on adenovirus-based vaccines before the pandemic. Scientists can therefore relatively easily apply the research results to solve the real-world problem and quickly develop vaccines against COVID-19. And the second argument they use is a better prediction of future outbreaks and which helps to design countermeasures in advance. In 2015, researchers engineered a chimeric virus to express a spike protein of bat coronavirus in a mouse-adapted coronavirus backbone to study the possibility of cross-species transmission of the virus. Since the original virus was engineered to be more pathogenic, the study was considered GIRAFFE research. And the study found that the hybrid virus could replicate efficiently in primary human airway cells and urged the community to develop efficient therapeutics and prepare for the potential coronavirus reemergence from the virus circulating in bat populations at that time. In 2019, the COVID-19 pandemic took place, and the SARS-CoV-2 could actually transmit from person to person through respiratory droplets, which infected airway cells. So it was shown that GIRAFFE experiments could indeed foretell future outbreaks. And there are several arguments that the side arguing against the continuation of GIRAFFE research uses. The first one is a possible leak of pathogens and bringing pandemics. Since GIRAFFE research aims to study pathogens by enhancing their abilities to transmit or infect organisms, it is possible that there may not be therapeutics available to treat diseases. As mentioned earlier, there are still some rumors going on regarding COVID-19 pandemic being caused by lab leakage from a GIRAFFE research lab. Even though there is no solid evidence supporting this theory, this possibility still weakens society's confidence in the containment of GIRAFFE studies. In addition to accidental leakage, individuals and private groups can also use GIRAFFE research in a malicious way and it is really hard to control those behaviors. Due to the quick advance and development in the life science field, the materials and information needed for many experiments can be conveniently accessed or purchased by the public. Even though it might be really expensive to buy such tools, it is possible that individuals or private groups can repeat experiments following the methods mentioned in the papers even without access to the high biosafety level labs. It is impossible to estimate the possibility of people repeating GRF experiments on their own, adding another layer of uncertainty onto the misuse of GRF research. Despite the heated arguments made by both sides in the debate, there are some overlaps that both sides agree on. First, they both think that the public should all participate in discussions and decisions instead of solely scientists. Since both GRF research benefits and harms are closely related to public health, it will only be fair to include people from all different kinds of fields to make decisions. However, one difficulty is that people in public are strongly influenced by social media and news, and therefore they are oftentimes overwhelmed by extreme viewpoints. And to solve this problem, scientists can regulate and promote only papers from verified scientists or scientific institutions and include more thorough analysis papers regarding pros and cons of GRF research. This will encourage individuals to make rational decisions based on impartial information. It is also worth noting that both sides mention the fact that human failings are not fully preventable, but they take very different approaches to use this statement for their arguments. For the side encouraging to continue GRF research, they think that the overemphasis of additional rules and regulations will only slow down the GRF research that can prevent the public from deadly pathogen outbreaks. For the side against GRF research, they argue that the unavoidable failings of humans add uncertainty to completely preventing the accidental lab leakage, and therefore the possibility of lab leakage is still too high to be worth putting public safety at risk. And moving on to some limitations and assumptions of the current literature. Current literature and analysis papers regarding GRF research were mostly published before COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore the evidence might be outdated. There have also been some papers regarding how pandemic changed researchers' perspectives on GRF research, further proving current literature on GRF research continuation might be outdated. And for the side encouraging continuation of GRF research, one most significant argument is that GRF research can better show the interaction between pathogens and hosts, which will aid in disease treatment development. However, this benefit assumes that the experiments conducted are very successful, and scientists can analyze the results to find useful information. If the GRF experiments that take a lot of time and costs to be finished turn out to be useless in terms of results, it might not be worth the risk in the process. And for the side arguing against the continuation of GRF research, they argue that there are many other alternatives that can replace GRF research and produce similarly insightful results. However, in reality, the alternatives are not as reliable and effective as GRF research. For example, computer modeling or simulation is designed based on current data on pathogens and infections. Information that scientists already know is very limited, and therefore, computational methods can only be used as a supplementary tool to predict trends and disease surveillance. They are very unlikely to exactly simulate real-world conditions. And thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you so much, Yifan. What a great presentation. I'm curious whether you've seen a change in the discourse around GOF and around sort of COVID, sort of the origins of COVID throughout the years since COVID has started.
I think definitely because of the COVID and the theory of the origin of the COVID, many people begin to lean towards against the continuation of GF research. And actually, I think for the public at least, before the COVID-19, they probably don't even know like what is GF research.
Mhm.
And after the COVID, more and more people focus on this section of the research as well.
Yeah, makes sense. And we have one question from Clara. So after doing so much research on both sides, would you personally support GOF research or not?
I think it's a really good question because I think before doing the research, I'm like leaning more towards the public as well. I feel like there's like so many risks and like it's really dangerous to conduct such research. And but after the research, doing the research, I feel like I'm probably leaning towards for the research because I think I find out a lot of good benefits of doing such research. And I think maybe if we just regulate better and contain those viruses only in the lab, it's probably worth the risk. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Yifan. Great presentation.